representing people injured as a result of other people's negligence for over 50 years here in South Florida. If you get injured as a result of somebody else's negligence, it can be a car accident, it can be a slip and fall, medical malpractice, negligent security. If somebody else's negligence caused an injury to either you or one of your loved ones, give us a call. Our phone number is on our page, our website is on our page, and our email addresses are on our page. Please give us a call for a free consultation. We'd love to help you. Let Zach and I protect your rights.
It feels incredible.
Fish on First Live, presented to you by Berger and Hicks. My name is Kevin Brawl. I am your host, and we have a pretty packed out house here tonight. We have Eli Sussman, Isaac Azut, Fish on the Farm, Alex Carver, our intern, Nate, and we have Noah Berger. Guys, what's up? A lot to talk about. We are now just a couple days away from the spring training opener against the St. Louis Cardinals, as the Marlins are the away team, and Ryan Weathers will be making his first spring training start. But Isaac, Noah, you guys were both there along with Alex Carver to watch live BP today. But the biggest news, I guess, in terms of the Marlins was that Sixto Sanchez threw a live bullpen, and he faced big names like Luis Ariz. I believe he faced Brian De La Cruz. He faced a couple guys. So, Isaac, what can you take away from Mr. Sixto Sanchez?
Yeah, polarizing figure for sure. Sixto Sanchez faced live batters for the first time since he made a AA rehab start last September, a 1-inning rehab assignment, but that was the first time he faced major league hitters in spring training in over 2 years. So a big moment for him, a big weight off his shoulders, but he looked good. It's confirmed now that he was sitting around 92 to 94. The off speed, which I guess would be his cutter in this instance, did not look that good. The changeup was pretty effective, apparently, according to Luis Ariz. He called it nasty. Not much else to say. I think the command wasn't there as obviously how it was in his rookie season, but it was good. I think it could have been worse and it could have been better. So I think that's all you can ask for with Sixto Sanchez at this point.
Noah, what are your takeaways? You were there.
One of the things I noticed, and I was talking to some of the coaches afterward, was his delivery just doesn't look like a major league pitcher's anymore. It looks more like someone that's just trying to push the ball. He's not throwing. He's not pitching. He's just pushing it to the plate. How he's doing that at 92 miles an hour, I have no idea how physically that works. But yeah, I don't really. I feel like this is his last gasp, last chance, and they're giving him this last chance, and he's either gonna take it or goodbye.
Yeah, so Mel Stoudemire actually not too long ago spoke to media, and he was basically as straight up as it could be. He's like, this is not the Sixto I saw in 2020. This is a different guy, and we will have to see what happens. But Alex, you were also there. Any comments on Sixto before we move on? Because I don't think we need to spend too much longer on this.
I think Noah has it pretty right. There's no explosion anymore in this delivery. There's lack of velocity because of it. He is not physical to the plate whatsoever. He isn't very physical in any regard, but especially in his delivery, he's not physical to the plate. The fastball is lacking velocity for that reason. 92 to 94, that's better than what we were hearing. So Isaac is right about that. It's better than what we were hearing earlier in the spring, but that's still not going to get it done when you're putting breaking pitches in the dirt. And you saw a ton of breaking stuff in the dirt from Sixto today without rise on the fastball, without velocity on the fastball. It's not good. It's still not good. And, this guy's in his age 25 season, and he's been injured so much. I am really still all the way out on this player. I really don't think that he will get back to the way that he was previously when he made his major league debut. So it sucks to say. It's just it's not there. It's a mixture of things. It's not just the fact that the stuff isn't there. There's also work ethic. There's also how he is in his build and everything like that as well. And then the missed time goes into it as well. So, it sucks. It sucks to see a player that could have been very good that I don't think will be very good for the long term. So it sucks to see, but it was another just okay Sixto outing in my opinion.
Right.
And just because okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Eli.
Well, just for those who remember, when it comes to the work ethic stuff, at this time a year ago, he showed up to camp in by his standards, in great shape. And he's relapsed in that regard this year, even though now, I guess, functionally as a thrower, he's able to not only his velo is a little bit more respectable, and at least he's going through several sessions without having any sort of pain. He's pain free, which is a difference that compared to the last couple of years. But yeah, you see it in the lack of conditioning as well. Who knows how that is contributing to him being the best version of himself even right now. He's in a situation where the stakes are so high because he's finally out of minor league options. The last few years, he's been optioned to the minors throughout the entire year and put on the minor league injured list. And now this is a guy that hasn't profited off of the hype around him. Like, this is such an important inflection point in his career. And the reality is that his shoulder may be too far gone to do anything about it anyway. That being said, like, this is such a critical, this next month or so, if he even gets a full month while on the roster, it's everything for him. It's his chance to at least make it through a year. And I mean, worst comes to worst, he gets DFA'd, he goes unclaimed, and maybe he'll still get to play baseball this year no matter what. But if he's off the 40-man roster and he doesn't make an impression during camp, his path to getting back onto a roster and back to the majors is so much more difficult. Like, this is the window. The window is finally closed. It's been a long window for him that's finally about to close. And you'd like to see a little bit more urgency, even though this was a baby step in the right direction. It might be too little too late.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because with Sixto, that's it. He's healthy. He may not say he's 100%, but in terms of what the Marlins see, this guy is another player on the 40-man roster at the moment. Unless the signing is made, the first move would evidently be Sandy goes to the 60-day, which opens the 40-man spot. But after that, it's players on the chopping block, and Sixto may be that first one because you look at the other players, Declan Cronin, and the other guys. Those guys have a pretty good velo, and I actually think they could be pretty serviceable players at the major league level. And I know in Isaac, your article, you mentioned that Luis Arias said some pitches were pretty nasty, but I don't know how much you could really take into account just one live BP. But
right.
That I think wait, you were gonna say something, Isaac?
Yeah, I mean the changeup is something that Sixto was really adamant about post session, that it just never went away with all these injuries, all these recurring shoulder injuries, like Eli mentioned. That changeup never went away. It was just mainly the fastball that's obviously fell off a cliff. So he feels that as long as he has that off-speed offering, we didn't see the slider today at all. It was just that horizontal cutter that he's got, but he's still very confident with that pitch. And before Marlins fans, they see all the hype, they see 92, 94. Just remember, there is a close to 0% chance that he is with the Marlins on March 28th, because obviously if he's not, he has to be DFA'd. He's out of options. From what I've gathered and from what I understand, he will not be with the Marlins on opening day. So just everyone keep their expectations a little bit tempered.
Well, I think when you say not be with the Marlins, I think not with the 26th.
Right. Well, I believe that if he is DFA'd, another team will select him. I don't think he'll go unclaimed. I think that's also part of it. I think they don't want to deal with the humiliation of another team getting him also, as well as just how bad that trade went. I don't think they want another team getting a crack at him. Not that I think any other team could fix him, but I just don't think he'll be with the Marlins past April.
Yeah. So the other name that stood out to you guys was Calvin Fauché, who was acquired by the Marlins. That was, I believe, the first trade Peter Bendix made, which was in that Vidal Brujan trade. Fauché was DFA'd by the Rays, and he came in that trade, which I believe sent Eric Lara over to the Rays, and I want to say Andrew Lindsay with cash. So pretty good prospects for what the Marlins gave up, and he had a pretty good first impression in his bullpen. Know what you like about Mr. Calvin Fauché.
First off, that picture taken by yours truly. He was nasty, just absolutely nasty. His breaking stuff was just dropping off. I was talking to Luis Arias about it. He said it starts like at one side of the batter's box, and by the time it gets to the plate, it's all the way at the floor, and it's impossible to get a barrel on. And that's really impressive to see from a guy that was DFA'd by the Rays, because those don't usually slip through the Rays cracks.
Yeah. So, I guess any other pitchers that stood out to you guys during BP? I believe Roderick Munoz also threw. So
He
who
got
else?
cranked
No.
by De La Cruz.
Well, someone that won't surprise any of you guys. I guess it's a surprise that maybe he's still on the Marlins. Tanner Scott. He looked in midseason form, and just keep in mind, fans, that this time of year the pitchers are way ahead of the hitters at this point. It takes them at least, I would say, like maybe a week worth of Grapefruit League games to sort of even out a little bit. So keep that in mind. But Tanner Scott looked great. No one hit the ball well against him. He took care of Jazz in about 4 pitches. Jazz was at least 2 minutes late on all of his fastballs. He got everyone swinging. Tanner Scott looked lethal today in live BP. And then the other pitcher that threw was Roderick Munoz. I think
I didn't get a look at him. Were you watching Bender?
Yes, Bender was the other one. Bender came back. He was throwing something different. He's obviously, the fastball was there. It looked better. It wasn't as electric as it was in that 2021 season, pre-TJ and pre-sticky stuff. But he looked really good. And he threw this pitch. I guess it was a cutter. It had to be a cutter because he threw the breaking ball and then he threw a cutter that was just like in between speeds of the fastball and the slider. And that also looked really well, but really good. But he also gave up some hard contact. He gave up a base hit to Vidal Brujan. So I guess it was good to see Brujan barrel up a ball against someone like Bender. But yeah, Bender looked good. Max Meyer pitched as well. He looked good. He showed off the changeup against Josh Bell. He struck out Josh Bell on that changeup. He left a couple of sliders hanging all the time, but that slider is just good enough that even if he does leave it hanging, he can probably still induce weak contact. You guys know how I feel, but yeah, Max Meyer also looked pretty good. All the pitchers looked good. You gotta say.
Jesus Luzardo snuck his way into the first round of live BP while we were all looking over at Sixto, so we have no idea what Luzardo did.
Right. Yeah. Peter Bendix.
Everybody was over watching Sixto. Luzardo was over there with nobody watching.
I'm glad your priorities are in the right place.
Yeah, Eli's probably regretting sending us over here. He didn't pay attention to the right guy. But no, yeah, Noah was right. Sixto Sanchez had everyone's eyeballs glued to him. Every media member, every executive,
every trainer.
Yeah, everyone was on Sixto Sanchez today. I didn't get to see Jesus Luzardo because of it, but yeah, we've already talked about that enough.
We would assume Luzardo was great, but anyways, Nate, Mr. Intern Nate, what stood out to you? I guess for looking from the outside in.
Yeah, just the amount of pitching. I think, like you guys talked about, Fouché. Very been impressed with him, and especially Ryan Weathers. Also, I've heard a lot about getting the start this weekend, the first game. I'm really excited how he because last year was a bit tough for him, especially I remember that Texas game. But Donna from San Diego, I have high hopes for him, and I hope he pitches well. I have high hopes for him this spring.
Eli, did you edit that?
Me? You're saying this isn't real life? But it's close enough that you really have to squint at it and think about
no, because the player's face is usually in the bottom middle.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to waste that much time on editing it. That's not updated. There is confirmation, though, from the team, and that's what matters, that he is starting that opener on Saturday, less than 3 days away. With him, I guess sort of fitting because he started the regular season finale last year. So he is on about 140 something days rest. Should be fresh.
Yeah, for someone like Weathers too, this is a good opportunity to see what the Marlins have in him, because he goes from pitching in the PCL / San Diego, which not easy to pitch in, to Miami, which, for the most part, Roger Dean, I believe, is pretty pitcher friendly, especially with the wind, depending how that goes. And then you go to Miami, which is another pitcher friendly ballpark. I mean, for someone like Weathers, this should be a pretty good, transition of teams for him. He pitched in San Diego. Obviously, we know the PCL. I know with the Marlins, I don't think he ever threw a home game in Miami. He may have done all away games, but anyways, when you go to Jacksonville, that's a very hitter friendly ballpark. Carver, you could say this yourself. he was pretty good. So you have to feel pretty good where you're at with Ryan Weathers. I'm excited to watch him on Saturday. But Noah, before we go to some minor league stuff here, I want you mentioned you wanted to talk a little about Avi Garcia. I'll let you do it.
It's not about him being in shape. It's not about him. He's completely changed his approach. He spent the entire offseason training with Luis Arias, and you could see before batting practice him doing a lot of what Arias does to prepare for at-bats, the same warm-ups, the same everything, the same swing paths. I was talking to him about what he's doing with his ground balls and fly balls. He's trying to keep his bat or level through the zone. He said I literally started from scratch because the last 2 seasons were unacceptable, and he's owned up to that, and he's changed everything. I think that's promising to see that he's owned up to it, and that he's trying to change it. Whether it'll work or not, I have no idea. I hope it does. For his sake, I hope it does. But you never know. But just for the fans to know, he knows he didn't do well these last 2 seasons, and he's changed everything.
I'm glad to hear that, because definitely he's someone who's going to play every day, no matter what. I mean,
I wouldn't say that.
No,
he's maybe not every day, but
I wouldn't say that.
he's being paid like it. So I don't know, but
just
he's
to address
well to that DH spot. Sorry, Eli, go ahead.
Just to address Devin's comment, I cropped this photo. The pitch clock actually was on during these sessions, so he is getting some practice with that after committing a couple violations early on last year
with the pitch clock in it.
Yeah. But anyways, Alex, you have also been at Jupiter. We can see you from your tan, from your sunburn. Talk to us, man. You've been at the minor league side of things. A lot of takeaways there. Some good, some bad. We'll let you now dive all into it before we head into the break in a couple of minutes here.
Yes,
You're
fun
muted.
times out there, man.
Never
It's my
mind.
favorite time. My favorite
Never
time of
mind,
year.
now
My
you're
favorite thing to do is be back there with the younger guys. While Isaac today and Noah were talking to Sixto, I was getting a look at Carson Milbrandt and Evan Fitterer, who are 2 of the younger Marlins pitching prospects. So it's kind of how we split it up. It's kind of what we do. It's been a really good time. I can tell you about some standouts so far. Noble's first outing was very good. His second outing, he got a little bit roughed up, but he's been consistent with the velocity. He's up to 97 per what I am told. Throwing 3 to 4 pitches, which is awesome. He has his fastball curveball combo. He's working on implementing the slider and changeup even more than he did in the FCL. And in Jupiter. Definitely just working on mixing pitches a little bit better, getting more rise out of the fastball so that he can bury the curveball more, stuff like that. This is kind of where he's at, but he's been one good start from what I've seen and one not so good start. So it's kind of been a mixed bag, but again, this is an 18-year-old kid. Another 18-year-old kid, I guess, on the offensive side that I can point out, Kevin, is Andres Valor. That guy is, I think, the youngest person there in this early camp that they are doing. And he has hit a home run. He hit another ball to the fence. He hit a screaming double. He hit a triple, and he's hit a couple of loud singles against all older competition. That guy's really shown well very early, and he's a huge kid. This guy's 18. He's like 6'3". It's crazy. He's a really big dude, built guy at age 18, which is insane. Those are my 2 guys that would stand out so far. I've also liked what we've seen both times I've seen him from Thomas White, big tall lefty. He's been good. Kemp Alderman's hit a couple balls very, very hard. There's been some really encouraging signs from guys that performed last year and guys that also kind of struggled last year. There's been encouraging signs from both sides of things on the minor league side of things. It's been really, really cool. So without going too long, I can go on about a million other guys, but I'll just leave it at those guys. It's been really fun out there, and the stuff that we're getting is just really, really insurmountable. The kind of information, the kind of looks that you can get at these guys from so close up. It's great. And it's free to fans. So I encourage you guys to, if you're into prospects, get out to Jupiter if you can and go take a look at these guys. It's really fun.
Who's the name? It is free, yeah. Who would you say, Carver, is a name that maybe not many people are talking about that has impressed you in the backfield? Because this is the one time, and just for context, this is why the backfields are so crucial to this part of spring training, because this is where you get to see all the Dominican guys who are in the DSL, a lot of guys from Beloit, because I don't think any of us here will ever go to Beloit, and Pensacola. So it's a good time to get a good, garner on how do you feel about these prospects. And this is technically where we kind of go off of our ratings, how we're going to rank these guys. So it's a good, it's a good view of these guys, and it's up close. It's free, and we get to talk to coaches, talk to players. It's a great experience. So yeah, Carver, who's that one guy no one's talking about that you think has really impressed you in the backfields?
I don't know how nobody's really talking about this guy, but nobody seems to talk about him except for the org, and I guess maybe me. Juan De La Cruz, filthy pitcher. That guy is nasty, and he's going to be pretty damn good. It's gross. It really is. Just the way that his breaking pitches play off of a 97, 98 mile an hour fastball. It's not something that you really see from a guy that is not even. He's going to turn 19 in a couple days, actually, but he's only 18 right now. So made it stateside last year for a little while, for a bit, actually all year last year he was stateside. Only spent 1 year in the Dominican, so he didn't have to repeat. But yeah, this guy is going to be pretty damn good by all intents and purposes. So I would really keep an eye on that name. Mostly with Jupiter last year, was part of the title run as well. Pitched, I think, only a couple games in the FCL before he got there. So this guy is going to be somebody to really keep an eye on that I think will be high on my top prospects list when we do it.
Yeah, we'll have Isaac and Alex out there tomorrow in the backfields, and Noah and Nick will be there for the big league side of things. So Noah, you said you had a couple questions you wanted to answer from the chat. Now's your time to do so.
First off, yes, we did see Lizardo. We have signs of life. He is alive. Don't worry. This one specifically, Bethancourt is far and away more prepared than the rest of the guys right now because he played in the Caribbean Series and has been playing for Panama. So for right now, the one hitter that I know is game ready and that I'm actually basing at bats like, okay, are these guys matching up? Bethancourt's the guy I've been watching for that specifically.
Yeah, I mean, this is right now a pretty young catching group. You have Bennett Hostetler, Will Banfield, Paul McIntosh, those three guys who are all NRIs. Kirk Casale, one of the older ones there too. He's the vet of the group. And then you have Bethancourt, who has a good amount of major league experience. Isaac, anything that stood out to you about, I guess, the younger guys, Banfield, McIntosh? I know McIntosh told Alex that right now this organization wants him to catch. So no plans of putting him at first or left field, which was really spoken about last season.
Yeah, he spent, I'd say, like an hour and a half, 2 hours while Live BP was going on. He and Banfield, and I believe one more guy, they're just catching balls from the pitching machine, working on framing, working on throwing down to second base, and working on all these defensive drills, working on blocking pitches in the dirt. But yeah, like Alex said, he's catching no matter what, whether it's he's doing it well or not, he'll be catching for this organization in 2024. Which isn't a bad thing. You know, there's a few guys ahead of him. Obviously, you have Banfield, you have Casale, you have Nick Fortes, who grounded out against Max Meyer today in Live BP for anyone that's interested. But yeah, PMAC, he's putting a lot of emphasis on his receiving skills this spring. So I think that's important. I'm glad he's in Major League camp. I think it's going to be important for him to catch some of these Major League guys in Grapefruit League action. So he's definitely a guy I'm going to keep my eye on, mainly defensively. I know what he can do at the plate, but I just want to see what he can do behind it.
Yeah.
Guys love throwing to him too. Talk to Patrick Monteverde, Kevin, about him just like throwing in Pensacola and then this spring as well. Big, huge target. He's decently agile with blocking. The arm kind of needs to come up a little bit, but man, like Isaac said today, he got video of it too. He's been basically doing that every single day, spending time in that little agility field with the pitching machine, and the catching coaches getting a lot of work in with defense. So definitely encouraging, and see what he can do, because if he can fix the defense, his bat will play, or should play at least at the major league level, I think, above what the average catcher may do. I think his bat will play at the major league level. The defense needs a little bit of work, but he's working on it.
One comment I want to touch on here, the offer to TEA, Tim Anderson, I don't want to comment on other people's reports, but it was for a little bit more than $2 million. It was closer to the $5.5 million range. The ball's in his court. That's what I know for sure. They're just waiting on an answer for him. Maybe he's waiting for more teams to give him an offer. Miami may wait until later in spring training when the players get a little bit more desperate to up the offer, or just hopefully they're hoping that Tim accepts whatever offer they gave him now. So we shall see, but it wasn't as little as $2 million, which would make sense because, Ahmed Rosario got 1.5 from the Rays. So maybe it was a little bit lower than what I was told, but it is definitely more than $2 million from what I've gathered.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate here, I've mentioned this on Twitter and elsewhere on our site as well, that Ahmed Rosario is a signing. I have no idea how it is that there's not a single team that went higher than 1.5 guaranteed. Even the incentives only take that to 2.5. That's if he hits all of his incentives. That's crazy to me considering the kind of player he was 2 years ago. So if TA is going to be a lot more than that, I don't know exactly what they were thinking, but I mean, either way, and with these guys, if it's 1 year and it's relatively cheap and there's no strings attached beyond 1 year, then it's hard to go wrong. That's kind of something is better than nothing at that position.
Yeah, the one thing you could also make the case for is maybe he did get more. The one thing I do want to know is if Miami ever ended up making Rosario an offer, because it wouldn't shock me. I mean, they had interest in him, or Urshela, Anderson. I know Alberto Mondesi was also mentioned among those names. So that's definitely – I'm interested to see how much Miami offered. I can't believe they would have offered 1.5 or even less than that. And maybe that's something we'll have to do our research on. But
I'll do some digging around for that tomorrow. I'll
definitely have to, because I would be pretty surprised if they didn't make him an offer. And it could also be the case where teams offered more and he decided to go to the team that he believes has the best chance of winning and playing almost every day shortstop with the Rays. He's kind of, I mean, they need it right now more than ever. Taylor Walls is injured and Wander Franco is God knows where. So, so anything else from you guys before I think we have a flip fish before we move on.
Sort of, yeah. We have a game to play. I'll say that.
Oh, God.
Ooh, I love games.
Well, most of you can't participate because this was mentioned on a call between several of us last night. I think it was a clever idea with the news that Ryan Weathers is the Marlins Grapefruit League opener last year.
I missed this, actually.
The trivia question here is who did it last year? This is from last season on February 25th against the Mets.
Oh, I know.
Against Jose Butto. I think that was how I pronounce his name. Haven't heard much from him.
Yeah, you're right.
Since the Marlins lost that game, who was the Marlins pitcher for that? On the other side of the break, we'll hear from Nate. Nate will get the first guess. We'll see what the chat has to say, and then we'll reveal that. So on the other side, stick with us here on Fish on First Laugh.
We have been representing people injured as a result of other people's negligence for over 50 years here in South Florida. If you get injured as a result of somebody else's negligence, it can be a car accident, it can be a slip and fall, medical malpractice, negligent security. If somebody else's negligence caused an injury to either you or one of your loved ones, give us a call. Our phone number is on our page, our website is on our page, and our email addresses are on our page. Please give us a call for a free consultation. We'd love to help you. Let Zach and I protect your rights.
All right.
You're back here. Put
Weird
Nate in the
thing
hot
that's all on
seat.
streams.
What do you think the answer is right here? Last year, Grapefruit League opener, who had the honor of starting that?
Only guy I can think of that's similar to Weathers where he is right now. Only guy I can think of is Braxton Garrett. I don't think.
Let's go! We got it!
Yeah.
Wait, what? I thought it was Daniel Castano.
I told you it's not Noah.
Castano followed him up.
Oh!
It was Castano pitched in that game in relief, and it was it's Braxton Garrett right there. Castano out of the pen. Braxton had to pitch as often as possible to try to earn a spot in the rotation, blocked behind the esteemed Johnny Cueto by the end of camp. He lost out very briefly, but of course, rotation spot opened up soon after that. And from there on, he held on to it.
All righty, let's keep going. So we kind of touched on it a little bit before the break, but yes, Ahmed Rosario, one of the shortstops that the Marlins were interested in, has signed with the Tampa Bay Rays for $1.5 million plus incentives. A steal, in my opinion, for someone like Ahmed Rosario and the Rays, but he goes through a pretty good situation for himself. We now have Tim Anderson left on the block, or they have Tim Anderson left on the block, along with Alberto Mondesi still there. Gio Urshela has been another name mentioned. Wouldn't be primary shortstop, but Isaac, talk to us a little bit here. Tim Anderson, Gio Urshela, Alberto Mondesi, what stands out to you? And at this point, how much do you think, how much lower of a deal, how much less money can some of these guys get after someone like Ahmed Rosario gets 1.5 million. You would think this guy would get, 5 or 6 mil, which is what we may think the Marlins have offered Tim Anderson.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the Dodgers left Rosario off their playoff roster going into the postseason last year. So I don't know how much of an impact that had. He did not produce much at the plate for the Dodgers in the second half of last year. So you're right, Kevin. The fact that he was given $1.5 million with incentives was pretty fascinating. That definitely shook up the market, I think, a little bit for these shortstops. For me, it's Tim Anderson or John Birdie. I don't necessarily know what they would do with Gio Urshela. We've seen reports that he'd be playing a little bit of third base. Obviously, the Marlins are very happy with Jake Berger. And if he's not playing third base, he'd be getting some first base where Josh Bell would go to DH. I just see a really clunky fit with Gio Urshela. So for me, John Birdie was third on the team in WAR last year. He plays a decent shortstop. He's going to steal bases if he's fully healthy this year, and he's going to earn $3.5 million. So for me, if they get Tim Anderson, John Birdie would be on his way out. Unfortunately, I hate to say bye to John Birdie, but that's just reality of it. So I think those are the two options for starting shortstop next year. And again, to talk about shortstop a little bit more, Xavier Edwards was there yesterday during infield drills, getting those reps, and today he flip-flopped with Vidal Brujan at shortstop. Edwards went to second base. And I think both of those guys are more than capable of handling the position. Obviously, Edwards is much better at second base, but I think if they want to get his bat in the lineup, they're going to have to just bite the bullet and let him get some grounders at short as well.
Want to get Nate in here in the conversation. Isaac kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'll get to you here, Nate. If the Marlins do sign a shortstop, any of them at this point, kind of feels like you have a little too many infielders for Miami, and especially someone like John Birdie, who right now is getting paid, I believe, $3 million in that range, and you have essentially a carbon copy in Xavier Edwards to a certain degree. What type of a trade could you see with John Birdie?
I'm like Isaac said, I'm a big Birdie guy. Guy's been on the team since 2019, can play everywhere, stolen base. We all know what he can do. But if we were to sign Anderson and move on from him, probably flip him for a reliever, I guess. I mean, we're trying to pat down the outfield now with Nick Gordon. He can play everywhere, and Xavier Edwards can play the infield. He can play the outfield also. But maybe just flip him for a reliever at this point. But it'd be a shame to part ways with Birdie. He's been through the whole rebuild now, but I feel like that's the only option if we do sign Tim Anderson.
Yeah. Alex, the other shortstop option still in the organization is Jacob Amaya. He had a really good start to his Marlins career with AAA Jacksonville. He earned a call-up, rightfully so. It was a real quick call-up, goes back down, feels like maybe it got to his confidence. Maybe his confidence went down after that, and he just really struggled, man. There's just no other way to say it. We know the glove is there for someone like Amaya, really good defensive shortstop, but right now it's really just the bat if you want to get that bat developed. So what do you think is left for someone like Jacob Amaya?
Yeah, it's overall hit tool, bat to ball skills, and finding quality contact is number one. And then the other thing is power is just really not there for him, at least not in part of his current game. Didn't even really do it with Jacksonville that much, honestly. So yeah, glove is good. Just little power and I would say just average at best hit tool right now, or at least last year for Amaya is the issue. But yeah, the glove is good, man. So definitely the glove and the ability to stick at shortstop gives him the higher floor to at least make an impact on a major league team. But if he wants to be a starter, he's got to fix the bat. So in that line of guys that Isaac was just talking about, with Brujan and Edwards and Birdie and maybe Anderson if he comes here, Amaya is lower down the line because of the lack of contact that he shows with the bat.
And I think the good thing with Amaya too is not just that he could play a really good shortstop. I mean, that's ideally what you would want, but you could put him at second, you could put him at third. I mean, you would think he's going to have similar, if not even better production at those positions, given just more simplicity to them besides shortstop. But Isaac, I do want to ask you, Tristan Gray, I know he could play everywhere. Where's he been playing with the Marlins at camp?
All over the infield. The sort of like the second team, the B team of infielders that are on the Major League spring training roster. They've been on field one, ironically. But yeah, he's been at short mostly, second base a little bit as well, where Jacob Berry's at third. Troy Johnson is playing some first. But I haven't seen too much of that group of guys yet. I just sort of been focusing on the Major League guys right now. Tomorrow I'll make it a point to look at. I did go over there the first time Barry was at third, just like take a look. Looks like he's improved a little bit. Just wanted to make sure he wasn't doing anything silly. He moved over to the first base after the first round. He looked better there. But yeah, Tristan Gray was someone that just he blends in really well, and he feels his positions well in the infield, especially in the middle infield.
And the other
I can
names,
give you a slight update. Yeah, I can give
Go
you
for
a
it.
slight update on Ray. After they did the stuff on the big league side, a lot of the NRIs came over and were taking at bats against in the minor league scrim game. Gray came over there and faced off against Ignacio Feliz, who's a very young guy. He was a Dominican guy last year. Very, very young pitcher. So get that out of the way first. But man, this guy worked into I wish I got video of it, but I didn't. This guy worked, I think, into a 2-1 count. Was expecting fastball and got slider, but slider was middle, and he absolutely demolished the baseball almost to dead center field, slightly to right center. It was a majestic home run that was absolutely out from the moment that he hit it. 6 swing, and I talked to Matt Snyder afterwards. He was like, dude, this guy swings the bat. He can definitely swing the bat. So if you're talking about an NRI that's made an impression on the organization so far, it seems it's Tristan Gray.
Yeah, and the thing too, with when I spoke to him, he told me, "Look, I feel the best at shortstop. I know that oh shit, whoa, all right, yeah, so yeah, he said that he feels best at shortstop. He knows what this organization needs right now, and that's a shortstop. But he said that he feels good anywhere. He feels anywhere he could contribute. He wants to play there. That interview, I think it's on fishonfirst.com, so you can check it out there. Or if not, it's on my Twitter. But that's another name I've really been looking into. But Trey Mancini, I know Skip spoke really highly about him. Nate, talk to us a little bit about Trey Mancini. What do you think he provides to this team? And, you know, just outside looking in, what have you noticed? Because he's definitely been taking reps with the big league squad.
Yeah, brings tons of leadership and experience. We all know that. Had that good 2021 in Baltimore. Obviously had his cancer diagnosis, but really, really good guy. I mean, off the field too, but definitely could see him earning the spot on the bench. Power bat. I've looked at our bench recently. Not a lot of power bats like, you know, Bruhan, Edwards, really not for power, but you bring in someone like Mancini to lay the boom. I like him a lot. I should start.
Yep. So let's look quickly because, you know, this is also a big point. You're bringing in a lot of NRIs. They're coming in. Who do you guys think would be some of the players that they should be putting on the chopping block real early? I mean, we saw Troy being the first guy cut last year. He was one of the first, I believe, barely got any game action. I think Jacob Berry was another one. Alex, I'll go to you for this one. And man, I hope it's not Troy. I really do not hope it's Troy, but who do you think maybe amongst the first round of cuts? A lot of young guys here too.
Yeah, it's these guys that are here just to mostly get experience. So like Javier Sanoja would probably be a guy that would probably go pretty early. That's there. I would say Bennett Hostetler would probably be another one. He's older, but you know, he's probably the last or slightly the last catcher in line in terms of like the pecking order right now for a catcher for the Marlins. You know, so guys like that are mostly here for experience, I would say would be the guys that they would send first. I hope not Troy, but they did do it to Troy last year. Banfield in 2021 when he was in spring training, he played like one game and then they sent him back. So I think he'll get more of a shot too. Maybe make it past the first round, but we'll see how he fares against big league stuff when he gets in there. If he does go against big league stuff, which I'm guessing he will, and he'll get more of a playing experience this year than he did in 2021. But yeah, just those younger guys in the group, I would say will be the guys that are NRIs that would probably get sent back.
This
Fairly
is more of a
quickly.
conversation for next week. After you don't have to rush it. They do play a few games before they make the cuts. And I do remember last year the date was approximately March 2nd, March 3rd last year when they made the cut. So you don't have to make the decisions right now. But yeah, just to branch off what he said, there are younger guys in camp that really aren't candidates to make the team in the first place. I would just single out Sanoja because he's the youngest hitter. He's the second youngest player behind only Yuri, who's on the big league side. And he doesn't have experience above high A. Jacob Berry, hopefully makes some sort of improvement both offensively and defensively this coming year. He also hasn't really performed all that much at all at any level, even though he's played a little bit at AA. Even if things go well for him, there'll be a call-up candidate at the very end of the year, not a candidate to make it right now. Yeah, so there are a few obvious guys that are here to get that experience. Victor Mesa Jr., I'm relatively high on him. He spent all of last year in Double-A, but the performance isn't quite there, and the team has a lot of outfielders in the mix already. So you imagine that he'll be reassigned relatively early as well.
I do want to ask you.
Well.
Go for it, Isaac. What's up?
I just think Griffin Conan is also going to be reassigned pretty early.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I forgot for a moment that he was in big league camp. But
yeah. Isaac, I do want to go to you because you've been there for a while. As you too, Carver. No Brant Brown, new hitting coach. I know it's kind of the same philosophies, but are you guys noticing any differences within the coaching staff, just the way they go about anything? I think this is worth noting because although fans could go out themselves and look at it, us media kind of get that better look and kind of check it out more. But it feels like maybe everything kind of looks the same.
Yeah, for the most part. I haven't had a chance to speak with Bill Miller yet. I actually haven't seen him. I know he's been there. I just haven't had a chance to introduce myself quite yet. But for the most part, it's a totally returning coaching staff for the most part. Today during pop-up drills, there is some clunky beginning things where Bell and Berger each missed a fairly easy pop-up. And so there's a whole coaching staff in the middle of the practice. Skip called a meeting on the mound, and the whole coaching staff
there it
went
is.
up right there. There's Jody Reed. There's Pipe. Yeah, it just seems like a really good culture there. And I like I said, I need to talk to Bill Miller at some point, but we haven't had a good chance to do so yet.
Another good development that you noted as well was the fact that Nick Gordon's taking most of his reps in left field.
Right.
I don't know how much infield he's done, but Brian De La Cruz spent most of the time there. By the net metrics, not a good left fielder. But Nick Gordon, on the other hand, that would be a huge upgrade defensively, which could kind of give you that rotation at the DH spot, which Skip mentioned.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. I think I should be clear. Nick Gordon, yeah, he has not spent any time in the infield. He was playing left field along with Brian De La Cruz. I think some people were a little bit confused. They thought he was the only one there. No, Brian De La Cruz is the main left fielder as of right now. De La Cruz told reporters, I think it was media day, that he spent 80% of his offseason focusing on his defense, focusing on his reads, focusing on his routes, and just making the smart throw to the cutoff man rather than just heaving it to the plate. So, yeah, as of right now, Brian De La Cruz was in left. Jesus Sanchez was the only one in right. Jazz Chisholm in center. But Nick Gordon, no reps since I've been here. I've been there pretty much every single day. No reps in the infield so far. When he was signed or when they acquired him, it was told that from the text I got from the Marlins, it was basically he's an outfielder, maybe some infield. So I think outfield first, and if he's play any outfield, it looks like it's going to be left field.
And again, it's not just De La Cruz. It's Jesus Sanchez. He was better than De La Cruz defensively, but still, it's not what you would wish.
Not saying
and
much.
That's where, yeah, exactly. So someone like Nick Gordon is a
Right.
huge defensive upgrade over those two guys, and just his versatility, his speed. So we'll see. But yeah, Alex, I know you've been there as well. Have you seen any Nick Gordon in the infield at all? I think you've been there more than Isaac.
No, I have not seen in field and drills. I have not seen Nick Gordon play in the infield yet. He's strictly been in left field, like Isaac said. I have not seen him do any work. That doesn't mean he hasn't. It just means I have not seen it. So. Yeah. I have not seen him do anything on the infield either. It's been that mix of like, Birdie, Amaya, like those guys, Edwards and Brujan, it's been those guys that have mostly been the guys getting the work at shortstop with Gordon out with DLC. Like Isaac said, I have not seen him in the infield either.
And De La Cruz will be making the team. It's not.
I bring it up. I bring it up just because this is things that you should have in mind as this stuff slowly plays out. It's options and having the ability to retain as many of your players as possible is, I think it's going to be important to Bendix. He acquired Vidal Brujan despite him having done nothing in the big leagues, but he's out of options, and they gave up a couple interesting prospects to get him with the idea that he's probably going to make the team. They traded for Nick Gordon. The reason why he was so affordable is because he's coming off a lost year, and now he's out of options, even though he's actually done something in the big leagues in 2022. So you just do the numbers game, and it really just takes one big surprise among the NRIs, whether it's Trey Mancini or you could just pick anybody. It's so early in camp that maybe somebody else comes out of nowhere. If there's one NRI that totally makes a great impression and fits very well with whatever they're doing, like it's not the worst thing in the world to send down a familiar face if they have options and you're able to keep them. that stuff it's a possibility. So even though DLC is coming off the year that he's had, and Isaac is quite adamant that we shouldn't even consider it, this early in camp, I would keep an open mind to all these guys that have options, and if they have any holes in their game, if there are, with somebody like DLC, even though there was a lot of good last year, there was a lot of cringy stuff, and it didn't trend well as the year went on. I think this is just something that you think about once it actually gets closer to making these decisions and finding the pieces that fit best together on the active roster.
And the reason I was adamant is because I think he's also got a chance to get a lot of time at DH. I know that Gordon and Sanchi are, they're pretty similar guys with their awful platoon splits, but I think you can see a world where, you have Gordon against right-handed pitching, especially Gordon in left, Sanchi in right, and Garcia and DLC and DH and Garcia on the bench. I think there's definitely a world where that happens. So I would find it very hard to believe. But Eli does make a good point that the options are everything. And a team like the Marlins that are now being run like the Rays, they're going to squeeze every single bit of juice with their options and playing time that they can. So it is a possibility, and it's worth mentioning.
I know it's less likely too, but I mean, a trade could also come up. You never know. I know Peter's saying that to say, I don't know how much he means it, but there's always going to be negotiations, discussions with everything. I mean, all options are always open. So that's definitely one, but we're coming down to the end here and we have about 10 minutes left. So we're going to quickly preview a little bit of what will be Saturday's game. Ryan Weathers versus, at the moment, TBD. We have no idea who it'll be. I guess it'll be one like a Lance Lynn or something like that. Who knows?
Oh, I know. I should clarify. We do have an idea. I'll have to actually look it up if you give me a second. The Cardinals are playing a split squad, so they announced the two guys that are pitching on Saturday. I don't know if they've confirmed which order they're pitching in, like which one is pitching against the Marlins.
That's early for a split squad too. First game right out of the gate. Wow.
Yeah, it is a little bit unusual.
I'll give you a second there, but yeah. As always, make sure subscribe, check it out. Fishonfirst.com. You could always become a super sub. Really cheap, really good options. You could do the annually subscription, or you could do month by month. And make sure to check us out on the audio accompaniment of this YouTube channel, and 5-star reviews wherever you can do it. Basically, wherever you listen to us. So, yeah.
And while Eli gets us who the Cardinals will be pitching out on the 25th, I guess it is. For the Marlins, I think it's a safe bet to say that George Soriano, Josh Simpson, Brian Hoeing, Jeff Lindgren, those will be some of the names that will be following Ryan Weathers in the Grapefruit League opener for the Marlins.
Yeah, so it's going to be between Matthew Liberatore and Zach Thompson. One is pitching against the Marlins. The other one is pitching against whoever the Cardinals are also playing on that day.
I feel like it's the Mets or like the Astros, but I would prefer to see Liberatore and Roger Dean.
Is Liberatore still good? Is he still like a prospect?
He had a really disappointing season last year where they had such a wide opening in the rotation, and he was so mid that like he spent most of the year at AAA, and then he didn't even pitch particularly well in AAA. But I think I've followed him loosely, and that he's going through some interesting adjustments. Like he kind of like Braxton, he had that signature curveball early in his development. Yeah. And once you get to the big leagues, it's like this big loopy curveball actually isn't all that useful anymore. So it's like one of the defining pieces that Braxton was like he's like the absolute epitome of guys totally redoing their approach and coming out successful on the other side, where the curveball is now barely part of his mix. He has a different breaking ball. He found a way to reinvent himself and adjust at the highest level. And Liberatore is a couple of years younger, so eventually he might be a good big league starter. At this moment, he's still in transition.
I guess looking at it from the Cardinals' perspective, this is a big spring for someone like Matthew Liberatore, who has a chance to make the roster. He's still, I think, a pretty good prospect for the most part. But anyways, we'll kind of preview just what to expect on Saturday. I will be there with Isaac Azut, and Alex Carver will also be there. I expect, I think, a lot of minor leaguers and RIs to get action. Victor Mesa Jr.'s, the Xavier Edwards, who are prospects still in some eyes. Those type of players I think we should expect to play. Alex, who are some of the minor leaguers that you're excited to watch? I know Troy is definitely one of them.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely looking at Victor Mesa Jr. as well, especially after what he did last year with Pensacola, was very, very encouraging. I was glad to see him get the invite. Definitely think he's a true center fielder. And I mean, he got into a spring game last year and hit a home run. I think it was a walk-off, right? So maybe build off of that as well. But yeah, definitely looking
Late
for
into spring
VMJ.
training as well. That was late into spring training.
Yeah, it was late in spring. So yeah, he was there for a while. But yeah, looking for him to keep it going with the bat because he definitely showed it a bit last year, especially with the power surge that he had and everything else. So definitely VMJ, got eyes on him. PMAC, as we talked about before, what does his defense look like behind the plate? What is this early work that he's doing? How is it going to permeate? And then see if Will Banfield as well can get some good looks against major league stuff. Definitely looking at Banfield's offense and how he can take it forward from what he did last year in Pensacola to possibly spring training. That would be something else to take a look at. So a lot of stuff to look at with NRIs. We could talk about the new guys as well. We talked about him already. Gray, he's looks to have gotten off to a really good start. I'm really encouraged by what I've seen so far from him. So maybe he can show it as well. But yeah, there's definitely stuff to look at past the major leaguers, which of course I'll have an eye on Kevin Yu as well. But yeah, early in spring is kind of my favorite time to watch those guys go up against big league guys. It's a fun time.
Nate, on the major league side, what are some of the biggest storylines throughout, this now with the games beginning? We're going to see a lot of quick moves with the cuts, but who are some of the guys who are kind of looking out for on the major league side? And then just the storyline of the spring training. We have shortstop. There's obviously what will this outfield look like now with the addition of Nick Gordon? Those are just some.
Yeah, certainly outfield. I think shortstop will figure itself out, whether Tim Anderson accepts the deal or not, of course. But with the outfield, now it's cluttered with obviously Jesus Sanchez, mostly those corner outfield spots. Jesus Sanchez, Avi in year 3, now Nick Gordon, DLC. How those guys really take spring, because they've all had their fair share of chances. I want to see what Nick Gordon's going to do. That's what I'm mostly excited to see. But what's it going to look like maybe in a month from now? Who out of those 4, or someone could surprise us? Who out of those 4 is really taking this spring and trying to get a spot out there? So I'm looking at.
Yep. So I think we could go into what our prediction time will be, Eli, unless there's anything else we could get into.
I think that's about it. I didn't put together a video that I feel good about yet, so I'll just do the audio intro of it.
This is prediction time.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Nice.
So for this one, are we going to go with what I suggested for this?
Yeah.
I think last year around this time we did spring training MVP, but that was kind of loose and hard to define and hard to ultimately make a judgment call on. And last year, almost everybody was terrible in spring last year. I was being reminded of this, how last year they had one of the very worst records out of any spring team. So this time we're just going to pick who's going to hit the first home run in a Marlins spring training game this year. So you would think that we're all going to have slightly different answers when it comes to that.
Whoever wants to go first. Nate, you could go first.
Once I get this music.
I don't like Josh Bell.
Oh, no, you got to take it
Oh,
slow.
wait.
Get delivery. You got to, we have time. You can play around with that. Justify your pick a little bit. There you go. Give it to us again.
Yeah. I like Josh Bell a lot. Maybe not his first at bat, but second at bat. If he does face Libertor, I like his chances against him. A lot of power. I got Josh Bell.
You can choose who goes next, Eli.
You.
I know who Isaac's going to take, so I'm not going to get his choice. I'm going to go with Troy Johnson. Troy's a minor league, a merchant. He's been at all these levels. He knows this ballpark well. Let's go with Troy.
Isaac, your prediction. First spring home run for the Marlins.
I'm going to go with Jesus Sanchez. He's going to crank one off a lefty, no less. Jesus Sanchez.
They're going to go with Barry.
Mr. Alex Carver, your prediction.
I could go with the easy pick and go with Berger, who, by the way, hit a freaking nuke today in live VP. But I won't go with him, and I will go with the guy that I saw hit a home run today. And I will say that he will do it again in spring training and say Tristan Gray is the first guy to hit a home run.
Noah.
I'm going to go with Brian De La Cruz. Of course.
Oh my god.
You can make your pick.
We have some interesting reporting about what Avi has done. Avisail Garcia entering year 3 with the
knew
Marlins,
it.
which said he is flipped. The way that he is prepared, he knows what he has to do. He remembers who he used to be. Not a bunch of years ago, but even just last year. Last year, did you know, in his second spring game, Avi crushed a home run. And then he went on, things went south from there. But that does not preclude him from getting off to a great start at the very beginning. So I'll go with him again. I think he's, at least to start off, he's in the right situation to hit that bomb.
All right. So there you have our picks. Aside from that, anything else from you guys? Eli, Isaac, Noah, Nate, Alex? Before we wrap it up.
No, just best time of year. If you're a baseball fan, head down to spring training. You'll be in a sea of red for most of the Marlins Cardinals games, but I could not recommend it more. If you get tired of seeing these big leaguers, go over to the backfields and watch all these kids from DSL teenagers all the way to upper level minor players like Troy Johnson, like Will Banfield. Want to watch Victor Mesa Jr. take BP or live BP against Max Meyer? You can catch that all in the backfields. It is free. It's open to the public. You'll see manager Skip Schumacher, president of baseball ops, Peter Bendix, sitting there in the bleachers like any normal pedestrian. You can go up to them and ask their opinion on some guys if you'd like. Just be respectful, and I could not recommend that more.
And don't forget your sunscreen.
A shameless plug for this journal that we've been updating every single day for the last 8 days on here. The most recent updates available to everybody for free on visiononfirst.com, but you can get the entire archive of the observations, links directly to the articles that we've been writing from spring games, interviews, and other reporting that goes into that. So if you want to unlock all that, become a super subscriber as little as $4 per month at visiononfirst.com/subscriptions. We'll be keeping that going to keep you fully prepared so that once you get to the regular season, you feel like you saw it coming.
All righty. So we're going to wrap it up here from Eli, Isaac, Alex, Nate, Noah, who not here with us right now. We'll see you guys all next Wednesday. And by then we should have some more news for you guys, hopefully a free agent signing or two. So yeah, peace out. And as always, go Fish.